Recently, a client asked me about how to meditate when they find staying with the sensations of their breath creates some panic. So firstly, I'd like to say this is really, really common. It's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's not that there's anything wrong with your breath. It doesn't mean that you can't meditate. So try to be really kind to yourself if you notice this comes up, and use it as a way of approaching the practice with curiosity. Next, you don't have to focus on your breath to meditate. There's lots of different ways to meditate and lots of different meditative style practices. So the breath isn't superior. It's not that you've got to stay with that. So here are some things that you might like to try instead. Firstly, meditating on sounds. I have a guided practice of this up on YouTube, so feel free to check that out. This is when we notice the sounds in our environment. Secondly, you might want to look at a different anchor. So this could be things like something you can touch, something you can smell. Then I'd say to play around with distance. So you might want to imagine that you're noticing, for example, your breath, and get curious about how close you feel that you're noticing that. So when it feels super close, it might feel too much, but if you imagine that you're noticing that from a greater distance, it may feel more tolerable. And again, play around with this. So sometimes it can be helpful to imagine taking a real bird's eye view and then zooming in and out. So do that as many times as feels helpful. Next, I would say to titrate your experience with resource. These are very sort of technical somatic therapy terms, but essentially it means just noticing a little bit and then taking your focus to something that feels more reassuring, pleasant or supportive. So for example, it may be noticing your breath for a few seconds from a distance and then feeling the comfort of the cozy pillow, maybe noticing how that feels against your hands instead, and then dip in and out of the two so that things aren't overwhelming, and you always want to stay away from that overwhelm. And finally, you might want to try out other practices instead. So mindfulness-based meditation might not be for you right now, and that's completely okay. So you may wish to try guided visualizations, particularly if you're a very visual person. You may appreciate these. Yoga Nidra can be great. Lots of people really enjoy that, and it has a slightly different intention from meditation. You may also wish to try mantra-based meditation, and this is when a word is repeated and you focus on that word. So my final tip for today is to get really curious and explore what feels good for you. You don't have to do one particular thing.